to Startup Club. We are almost 1 million members strong. Can you imagine that, Michelle? Almost a million members strong. And we literally started about 2 years ago, this club on Clubhouse. It's the largest club on Clubhouse. It's almost a million members. And it's all about learning from each other, from a community. And today we have a very exciting episode. An episode about what it takes to start up and do it in 12 months to a million. Ryan, welcome to the room.
Hey, Ryan, there's a little mic on the right bottom corner that you
He's
need to turn. There you go.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Michelle. I'm the noob in the room. It's nice to be the new guy in the room. I'm usually the teacher. I feel like the clubhouse noob. Thank you so much for having me.
well, we love the fact that you're on, and our members will really enjoy it. We know it's going to be a great episode. This is actually a live show on Clubhouse. If you're listening to it in podcast, you can come every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern and come on stage and talk to us. We love it when we have interaction from the community. And we have so many different authors and serial entrepreneurs on this show. We have our co-moderator, Michelle Van Tilburg, and Mimi Ostrander, who does our blogs. She writes all those great blogs on startup.club. And we also have Olivia Valdez, who runs our marketing. She may or may not be in here today, but she has done such a good job putting that website together. And if you're not already on it, just go to startup.club and sign up to that email list, because you would not know that Ryan was coming on to this show unless you're on that email list. We're hoping we can have better engagement, as we've heard this week that Clubhouse is now going to be upgrading our club to allow us to engage better with our members. But the fact is, unless you're on that email, you really don't know. So what is this show all about? It's really about cracking the code. What do serial entrepreneurs do over and over again to start, scale, exit, repeat? And what I'm excited about with Ryan Daniel Moran is that he's not just a guy who talks about how to make money or how to make a startup. He's actually got a really good system in place, and he articulates it quite well. And I've listened to a number of his podcasts, and I'm halfway through his book, but I've really begun to understand it's not just uh, an ideology; it's also a system. But just to kick it off, Ryan, thank you for joining us. You're a serial entrepreneur, an investor, author, best-selling author, and host of Capitalism.com. We're so honored to have you on today's session. Let me ask you a question to kick it off. Why did you start this journey in the first place? Why did you think I need to help startups when you could have just kept doing it on your own? You're successful on your own.
Well, Colin, it actually is very interesting because I had just moved to Austin, Texas in 2013. And I went to Austin kind of in pursuit of a new life. I was living in Cleveland, Ohio at the time. I felt like I had eaten at all the restaurants, driven on all the roads, seen all the trees, and I needed to get uncomfortable enough in order to grow. And I moved to Austin, and I was working with a coach when I moved there who asked me what my business goals were. And I said, I would really love to take this little project that I'm working on to 100 sales a day. And he asked me why. And I said, because I've run the numbers, and 100 sales a day is $1 million business. And I've never had $1 million business. This is 2013. And he said, how does that math break down? And I said, well, 100 sales of my product, it would be, 100 times 30, that's $3,000. That's about $90,000 a month, which is just over $1 million a year. And I've never had $1 million business before. And he said, okay, sounds great. Good goal. What are you at right now? And I said, 5 sales a day. And he said, okay, we got work to do. And what I started doing at that point was simply documenting how I was trying to take this business to 100 sales a day. And that was how my podcast following grew, was I was just sharing how I was experimenting to try to get this brand which is called Sheer Strength Labs, from 5 sales a day to 100 sales a day, and that would be $1 million business. And an interesting thing happened. I peaked out on that first product. It sort of peaked out at about 25 sales a day. And okay, great. That was like $25,000 a month or so at a $30 price point. I think that's actually 22,500 or something like that. So 25 sales a day. And we were like, all right, sweet. We need 4 of these. We need to have 4 of these that do 25 sales a day, because at $30, that's 100 sales a day, and that's $1 million business. And my partner, Matt, and I were like, all right, this is our goal. We're going to get these 4 products to 25 sales a day. And the whole time I'm sharing this on a podcast, I'm sharing this on a YouTube channel, and people were following, and they were implementing some of the experiments that we were running into their business, and started to build up a little bit of a following as well. As soon as we launched the second product, the collective sales of the entire brand went to 100 sales a day, and it was $1 million business. And that was when it got interesting, because as that brand started to grow, we started to get new opportunities. And as we started sharing this, we started getting really good results with some of the people who were following us. And Colin, the real answer to your question about why I decided to share this in a book format is I figured, if I write a book explaining to somebody how 4 products at 25 sales a day at $30 is $1 million business, and I show them how to plug in those variables, I will never have to talk about this ever again, because I've been talking about it for 10 years, and I will never have to do it again. And of course that backfired, because the book was successful, and now I talk about it even more. But I'm glad that it has resonated, and that was the honest answer to your question about why we shared it in book form.
And I see you also have a podcast and a conference, but you had me at 12 months to $1 million. So I'm kind of dying to jump into this, and Colin's
Let's
like, hey,
go.
Michelle, you need to read this book. So lay it
Good.
on us.
Well, Michelle,
What is
let
the
me
secret?
ask you. Let me ask you, Michelle, because we can take this in a number of different directions, and I'd be happy to give you sort of the cliff notes of the strategy. But how can I help Michelle become a millionaire in the next 12 months? Because it's totally possible. So when you say lay it on us, how can I make this because I'm sure the tens of thousands of people who hear this would love to see Michelle succeed in these next 12 months. So how can we
Oh,
make it
wow.
particularly helpful for you?
That's music to my ears. So you know what to say. Yeah. I think, we obviously it's Startup Club, and we have people at all levels and stages of the startup ecosystem. So, you know, Colin, unless you disagree, just sorry, just if we could start with, like, what is your system and your framework, starting from kind of ground zero. And I think we can just grow the conversation from there.
Yeah,
Great.
exactly. Like, what is it that, like, somebody in the audience here, they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to do a startup. What do they do first?
Okay, great. So the way that we're going to start is I want everyone who's listening to just in their mind imagine someone they know, someone you're close to, someone you have an uncomplicated relationship with. Just draw that person to mind. And now in your mind, as you're thinking about this person, how would you describe this person, or how would this person describe themselves? So I'm thinking about my mom, and my mom is a born again Christian, lifelong Republican. She will pay $2 more to support a brand that has a cause behind it. She listens to Christian music, goes to church every Sunday. Right? Like, these are just little things that I'm describing about my mom. Right now, as you're thinking about the person in your mind, can you identify what podcasts this person listens to or would listen to? Whenever I tell this story in a class format, I say, what podcast do you think my mom listens to? And somebody will say, Joel Osteen. I say, aha, you don't know your audience. She would say he's a prosperity preacher. Oh, no. And we have fun with that one. So if you really know your person, you can identify, okay, what podcast do they listen to? What stores do they shop in? And there's a reason why we're going in this direction. So just stick with this for a second. Are you thinking about somebody in your mind and what they listen to, what they might believe about a certain issue or a cause? And now I want you to pick, what do they spend money on? My mom, for example, is very frugal. My mom will tell you, how she saved $1 on one brand of soup versus another brand of soup. But when it comes to crafting, my mom will spend the extra dollar. My mom has special things that she uses for cutting little accoutrements for cards, and she has this like heat gun that does special designs when she does this thing called toll painting. She has all these different tools and special designs that she buys. She has special stores that she goes to because she's super crafty. Now, if you're thinking about someone and what they listen to and where they spend money, can you think of 4 things that they would buy? 4 things. So for my mom, she bought this little tool for making cards called a cuddle bug. She also has this heating gun that she uses. She buys a special kind of glue, a special kind of paint. Now, I don't know anything about crafting. I don't know anything about it, but I've just seen her use as many as 4, 5, 6 different things just by spending time with her around her passion, around something that she's really interested in. Now, this is a woman who has a special room in her house dedicated to crafting, and that is like her sanctuary. Now, if you can think about something similar, someone that you know well, and how that person might describe themselves and what they would buy, we are starting to get the foundation of a startup that can reach $1 million. Because remember, we only need 4 products to get to 25 sales a day, to have 100 sales a day. And at an average price point of $30, that's $1 million business. All right, so I was chatting earlier today with someone who has a pretty nice YouTube following. And this person is a born-again Christian, and they have a story about that. That's not their content, though. It's just how they identify. And so I was talking with him about the positives and opportunities, and also the challenges to doing a Christian food line. Now, I also have a student who's a practicing Muslim, and I have been coaching him through having a Muslim packaged food line, because everybody that he hangs out with struggles to have snacks in the house that are specific to that diet. And when I'm working with somebody who is a Christian, we're just talking about religion here as the identifier, but we can do this with dads, for example. I have a brand that is specific to dads and sells food and supplement and protein lines. Because when I'm talking to a dad, I'm talking to a father that identifies as a family leader. The needs and wants and decision-making behavior is different than someone who identifies as a church-going Christian mother. Now, a classic example of this is I bring up, if I'm teaching this in a class format, I bring up a picture of a middle-aged man who's going through a divorce. And I say, what is going through the mind of this person as they are getting back into the gym, getting back into shape? Well, they're asking questions like, what exercises do I do? What vitamins do I take? Should I take creatine and fish oil? Do I need a pre-workout? Do I need a testosterone booster? Do I need a protein powder? Do I need high protein pancakes? Right? These are all the things that middle-aged divorcee is going through, is thinking about buying as they're working out and getting back into the market. Then I bring up a picture of a college-aged female athlete. And I say, what are the things that a college-age female athlete is buying on her journey, her hero's journey of becoming something? She is competing. She is becoming stronger. She is an independent woman. What are the things that she buys? Well, the things that the female athlete buys are the exact same things that the middle-aged divorcee is buying. But when they're shopping for them, they're shopping and looking for something completely different. This is why you have 1,000 different supplement lines. Why I have 1,000 different pre-workouts. You have pre-workouts for women. You have pre-workouts for men. You have pre-workouts for fish. I mean, you just have pre-workouts for everything. You have supplements for everything. You have different food brands for everything. And so the magic and the secret of, if you want to have a very predictable $1 million startup, is to identify the person that you want to serve, the individual, that group of people that you are going to go all in on, and then identify the 4 to 6 products that they buy on their journey to be a parent, lose weight, make more money, start an audience, get a job. What are those 4 to 6 things that they buy on that journey? And what we can go into next, and I just want to pause for a second here, but what we can go into next is how we get a group of those, of a few hundred people, ready to buy from us on launch day, so that we can have the first product get to 25 sales a day, the second product to get to 25 sales a day, the third product get to 25 sales a day, until we have 4 products doing 25 sales a day at an average price point of $30, which is $1 million business. Michelle and Colin, we went through a lot of different examples in that 5 minutes or so. Does that make sense so far?
I think it does. I think what you're doing is you're making it sound very simple. You're basically, and I'm going to try to repeat it back. You're basically saying, okay, let's identify people we know or other people, um, you know, out there who have issues or problems or challenges, and can we provide them a solution? And if we can do that for that one person, then we can scale it to hundreds. So your ideas are everywhere. Challenges and
Right.
problems are everywhere. You're basically suggesting that we just look around in our lives and figure out what other people want or need and then scale that. I'm curious to hear about how you go from idea to action.
Yeah. So you bring up a good distinction about there's ideas everywhere, but the most common question that I get from people in this phase is, "Hey, is X a good product to sell?" This comes what's a good product to sell? How do I come up with a good product to sell? And I flip it completely on its head, and I say, we don't ask what the best product is to sell. We ask who the person making the buying decision is. So who's buying? If you're looking at selling a granola bar, who is the buyer? This is for moms with kids that have allergies. All right, great. Now, if you were to give that mom a really good tasting granola bar that had none of the common allergens, would they say that's a good product? Yes. Well, then you've answered the question. Because if your primary question originally was, is a granola bar a good product to sell, it's a flawed premise. But if we know who the person is, then we can answer the question very specifically. It's kind of like, most people will tell you that the supplement space is too competitive. It's too crowded. But most of us can look around our house and look at 5 different supplement companies that we've bought from. How is it that we are able to have so many brands selling very similar things? Is because they are marketing to different people. Different people. So there are, almost 1 million people in this club. 1 million people that all have one thing in common. What is that? They want to have, or they do have, a startup. So you could tell me, well, training entrepreneurship is a saturated market. It's a crowded market. Yeah, of course. And there's a lot of us. And we congregate in groups. We follow thought leaders. We listen to podcasts. We subscribe to YouTube channels. And we're extremely easy to target. So we have 1 million people in this group, which means that the people who run this group, if they decided to, could start a supplement company for entrepreneurs selling nootropics and focus enhancers and sleep supplements and all kinds of stuff. And within a few days, have a few hundred buyers or a few thousand buyers for that unique product for that specific person. So the magic, the secret of getting to a million within 12 months is once we've identified who the person is, not what the product is, but who the person is, that we can get a group of those people ready to buy from us, congregated in one specific area. The best of this is simply a hot list on an email list that is following our journey. So what I will
So
walk
Ryan, you're
yes,
suggesting that it's not just about like come out with a supplement for everyone that everyone can buy. We're talking about what I think you're doing really smartly here is saying think about a niche, something that there's enough of a market for, but you can be the biggest and the most focused in that market versus coming to market with a product that's for everyone. Is that right? Like you're basically saying like focus on a laser beam focus on a particular niche.
my favorite phrase that you just used was the most focused, because we only need 25 sales a day. We need 25 people a day to find us and buy from us. That is not millions of people. It's a few thousand people a month. So if we have if we have that specificity, and our goal is $1 million business, and we don't need a lot of people, we need to be the unique solution for a specific person. So let's play a little game here. So I'm visiting a friend right now, and I am staying in his guest house, and I'm just going to look around and see what's around me. Okay. So I brought a few things with me. If you hear me walking around, forgive me. I'm just going to tell you what I see that I brought with me. Okay. So I've got my supplement case, which I brought with me from Texas. I have my leather bound journal here with me. I have the sleep supplement, which is called Kill Switch. The tagline is sleep like you're dead. It's fantastic. I have this. There's a supplement brand I like called Thesis. I'm experimenting with them right now. I saw them on a Facebook ad. So okay, we're 2 minutes into this, and you can already tell I'm a supplement buyer because like 3 of the 4 things that I just listed were supplements. Okay, what else did I bring? I brought my workout clothes. That says something about me. I brought my workout shoes. Okay, you're starting to see a trend. This is an entrepreneur who works out, who cares about health and fitness. Okay, there is a protein bar next to me. These are all things that I have bought in the last 30 days. You can tell something about me based on the things that I have purchased in the last 60 days. You know, people wonder, what is a good product to sell for my person or for who I am? Here's a great hack. Go to Amazon.com and look at your purchase history from the last 90 days. See if you can find a trend in 4 of the products that you purchased. Does it say anything about you? And if so, does that give you a special lens into the world of that group of people like yourself who are buying that thing? Does it give you a unique perspective on what could be better, what could be different? I have several clients who sell the exact same thing as everybody else, but it's just to a different group of people. It's to dads, or it's to moms, or it's to college athletes, or it's to students in very competitive colleges. It's for biohackers. It's for whoever it is. So here's the secret of ensuring that you get to the million. If you can take your person, which is almost always yourself, and you can get a few hundred or a few thousand people to follow you ahead of your launch, you will likely win. Now, take note of what I'm about to tell you, because almost no one does this, but everyone who does it wins. Almost no one actually does this, but everybody that I have seen does it has success. And it is, if you relentlessly document the launch of a business, even when it seems mundane, and you send those people who watch your stuff to your hot list, you will have enough to have a really successful launch. What does this look like? If you, every day for 90 days, document your idea, how it's going, how you're developing it, what the feedback has been, what the prototype looks like, what your early testers have said about it, and you post that on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, podcasts, wherever you are comfortable putting content, and you link back to an email capture page, and you get a few hundred people to follow your journey, you will have enough to have a profitable launch. In my book, or when I'm working with people, our goal is to get at least a $10,000 launch. The great story of this is we have a student named Daniel Moran. He launched a brand called Effin' Good Snacks, EFFIN Good Snacks. And he said, he's like this 21-year-old kid. He's like, everybody tells me that you shouldn't eat snacks late at night, but everybody I know does it. So I'm just going to make some really good snacks that you can eat late at night that won't mess up your sleep. And so he makes these gluten-free, sugar-free cookies that taste like Chips Ahoy. And he calls them Effin' Good Snacks. And for the next 90 days, he just documented every step of the journey. I'm calling the manufacturer. Here's why I'm starting this cookie company. Here's why I dropped out of school to pursue this dream. I took on a side job in order to fund my dream. He just relentlessly documented every step of the journey. When it was time for him to launch, he had 5,500 people on a waiting list ready to buy these $15 bag of cookies, just because he had documented it relentlessly every step of the journey. When he launched, he came out of the gate with over $20,000 in sales within a few days. Hundreds or thousands of people, over 1,000 buyers bought it on Amazon.com or from his store. Well, guess what happens when you launch to a group of people that's even as small as a few hundred people? When they click a link on Amazon and they go buy it, that is like a vote to Amazon that this is an important brand. And what do you think people who have been following the journey are likely to do once they get your product? They are much more likely to leave positive reviews on your stuff. And they're much more likely to buy a second product once it's ready. So once you launch the business, you have sales from day one, which have reviews right behind them, which become great conversion rates and give you the firepower to launch product number two. So the first 4 months of the 12-month plan are simply getting up, ready, and taking one sale. That takes 3 to 4 months of deciding, documenting, ordering the product, looking for prototypes, finally placing the order, getting it listed on your Shopify store or Amazon or Kickstarter or wherever you're going to take sales. I call that the grind. The grind is all about getting that first sale.
And it's not hard. It's right. It's not hard to do a Shopify site, is it? Like we have a number of e-commerce businesses in our incubator here in Fort Lauderdale, and setting up a Shopify site is a lot easier than you think. You don't need some programming team or IT development company or anything like that. You can do it yourself. It's never been easier in history to set up one of these accounts or an Amazon account for that
Right,
matter. Am I correct?
right. If it takes you a day to put it up, you took too long. It's real quick and easy to be ready to take orders. So but those first 3 to 4 months are where it feels like nothing's happening, because you're just making decisions, you're ordering samples, no one seems to be caring what you're doing. You've got 150 people on a launch list, and you're like, wow, this sucks. It feels like nothing is happening. But then you take that first sale 3 to 4 months in, and then you release it to your list and you start getting reviews. That second 3 to 4 month period is what I call the growth. And the growth is about getting to a consistent 25 sales a day. Now, keep in mind, the first 3 to 4 months were all about taking a darn sale. The second 3 to 4 months, the growth are about getting to a consistent 25 sales a day. So you're 8 months into this thing and you're still looking up at 25 sales a day. That's why most people quit. Because for the first 6 months or so, it feels like nothing is happening. And it takes a full 3 to 4 months to get to that consistent 25 sales a day. I call this building the highway. You're building the highway of what it takes to get a product to 25 sales a day. When you are building a highway, it takes a tremendous amount of people power, of money, of time, of organization, of politicians getting their tish together. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to get one car on a highway. But once it's built, it can handle an infinite amount of cars. And getting sales is the exact same way. It takes a tremendous amount of effort for those 8 months to get to a consistent 25 sales a day. But as soon as you're there and you release product number two gets to 25 sales a day very quickly. And then you release product number three and product number four. And so those last 4 months of the 12-month process are about releasing products as quickly as you can without compromising your focus, which means we might be releasing about one a month for those 4 months until we have 4 products doing 25 sales a day at a $30 price point, which is $1 million business. So those first 8 months, we are taking a sale, getting a 25 sales a day, and then we release the additional products that give us that $1 million run rate within 12 months.
Wow. I love what you're saying. I love the hyper focus. For me, a little bit different than Colin. I'm really hearing, yeah, you're just like picking out a segment, right? A user
Mm-hmm.
persona, and you're hyper focusing on a solution, that will resonate with them that they actually want to buy. Like you said, I think in the example of your mom, she'll pay a little extra for that few things that are
Right.
right up her alley. Those are her, that's her passion. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
and she won't for, a box of cereal or whatever it is. People
Correct.
might look at her and think, oh my God, she's such a spendthrift. So I love that hyper focus on the person and where their mindset is, meaning where their wallet is.
Correct. And we don't need that many. We only need 25 a day. That's it.
Wow.
A few hundred a month, a few thousand a quarter. And then that's enough to have $1 million business. And when you realize that you only need a few hundred people, you sort of relax and realize, okay, like I don't need to have the world's greatest idea. I don't need to even get it right the first time because I only need a few hundred people to get this product to 25 sales a day, and then I'll release product number 2, 3, and 4, and I can have myself my $1 million thing.
Awesome. Well, we've got quite a few members here on the stage that
Excellent.
are ready to ask Ryan questions. I want to do a quick reset. We're here with Ryan Daniel Moran. He has an amazing book, which is 12 Months to $1 Million. He also has a podcast and cool website with lots of resources at capitalism.com. So, Ryan, let's hear what our members have to say, and we're going to start with one of our loyal members, Ron. Ron, what is your question for Ryan?
Hey, Ron.
Ron, you're up. And if you're not ready, we can go on to Priscilla. Let's go to Priscilla.
Hey, thank you so much for hosting this space. I just want to take a moment to edify Colin and Michelle, always bringing the goods to Startup Club. So happy to be here. And Ryan, especially with you. I mean, wow, amazing. Great book. But I do
Thank
have
you,
a
Priscilla.
question for you. Thank
What's up?
you. Thank you for all your knowledge. So, my question is 14% of Americans played pickleball at least. once in the 12-month period. If I am targeting pickleball players and the demographics are now it's basically all ages are really getting into pickleball. What are some tips you would give someone who is possibly selling paddles or, just merch when it comes to that?
So
With a Yeah,
a good way to think about this, Priscilla, is instead of looking at demographics, we look at psychographics. What's the difference? A demographic is what other people say about a person. A demographic is, oh, that person is a 40-year-old male with 2 kids. That is a demographic. A psychographic is how someone describes themselves. A psychographic is how someone identifies what their preferences are. So if they are playing pickleball, what is the reason why they're playing pickleball? Would they identify as being a pickleball player who does it for fitness, for fun? Are they participating in an emerging new sport? Are they looking to go pro? Are they doing this to keep up with their old friends? So that is a psychographic versus a demographic, where we can fall into a trap with something like pickleball, which is an emerging trend. We could very easily say, oh, I target pickleball players between the ages of 25 and 35, and we're already bored, right? Because what we need to say is we target pickleball players who are doing this in order to keep up with their old friends, and so they play once a week, and they have these preferences about how they play, which means that they might be buying certain types of clothes, certain types of gear. They may be buying certain supplements. They may be buying joint support because they're older and they're just playing to keep up with their friends. And you see where this is going, right? So that is how we would identify what that group of people is that we would be targeting. But the beautiful thing about something like a pickleball brand is you're so early in a trend that is growing so fast. You could be fairly wide-minded in this space and still be pretty early in that. I love trends that are emerging and that are new because you're at the forefront of that trend that is growing, and you get to participate in the growth of that trend. Even if your brand only stays pretty small, the overall market is growing. Does that make sense, Priscilla?
absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that
You're
share,
welcome.
those insights.
Good. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
being here.
All right, excellent. Let's go back to Ron real quickly. Are you there, Ron? Okay, no. All right, we're going to pop over real quickly to 10G Colin. Colin.
Hey, thank you, Michelle, and love the conversation that's going on. And Ryan, when you spoke about I love the idea of documenting before you start something and
Yeah.
leading up, and then pulling out the email. How would you strategize that when it comes to if someone is like doing a new program for coaching or a membership? How would you do it that way?
Beautiful question, Colin. So I'll give you an example that I think you'll will really resonate with you. So right now I have a brand. I have this product. It's a morning nootropic. It's called On Switch. I've developed it for entrepreneurs. It is my current physical products brand where entrepreneurs, if you can squeeze out an extra hour of productive work a day, that could be an extra 200 grand in profit per year. So our kind of a marketing angle around this is On Switch is designed to extend the most productive part of your day by 1 to 2 hours a day, specific for entrepreneurs. Now, every single time I get a piece of feedback from one of my customers that edifies that unique selling proposition, I screen capture that, share it on Instagram, and might even email it out to the hot list. What that does is, one, it gets new conversions in the door, and second, it encourages other people to give me that feedback, because whatever is celebrated gets repeated. So the more that I screen capture or screenshot or reshare feedback, I did it this morning. If you follow me on Instagram, you can look at the video that I shared. I put this tagline on it that said, "Our testimonials are so good, they look like they're being done by actors." Because I had this, somebody submitted this really nice video for OnSwitch, and I shared that on Instagram. All right, so what does this have to do with taking these over to a coaching program or a digital product? That same type of a strategy will get you very high quality leads for a high ticket program or for a coaching program. So if you have somebody who is writing in telling you about the breakthrough that they just had on a coaching call, or they were thinking about that last one-on-one that they had with you, and here's how it resonated with them a week later, you screen capture that, you post it on Instagram, and you send that out to your email list, because there are 19 other people who follow you who have that exact same challenge, that exact same struggle, and want that exact same breakthrough. And 2 of them will reach out and they will say, "Hi, I'd love to set up a one-on-one with you." And then you take the question that they submitted, you screenshot that, and you do a green screen reel on Instagram. You record out and you say, "Hi, I just got this great question from somebody." Obviously, what I just sent out last week resonated with some of you, because I got several questions that looked a lot like this. And now you're just documenting the questions that you're getting that resonate with the people who are like your client. What is that going to do? It is going to put that on the radar of 9 more people who struggle with that exact same thing. So that's how we really milk the feedback that we're getting from the audience, even if it's a small audience, and we start to build up that lead flow for whatever it is that we're selling. Colin, does that make sense? Does that show you how you could take one lead and turn it into 50 of them if you are
Yeah,
doubling down on that?
I love that. Love that, Ryan.
Good. I'm glad it was helpful.
I thought you were saying Colin. I thought you were asking me. In any case, I'll tell you one thing: when you come out with downshift or down switch, I'll
Yeah.
buy that product, because
Yeah.
sometimes just turning ourselves off is the issue as entrepreneurs, as startup founders,
Well,
and
Colin,
whatnot.
I have good news for you. We've been working on off switch for a long time, and we haven't dialed it in just right. But we do have kill switch, which is a sleep supplement, which will knock you out. Because so if you go to switchsupplements.com, Colin, you can try it now. Try kill switch, sleep like you're dead. There's my promo for the
Nice.
Love it, love it.
Yeah, I just want to bring something forward that you said in the beginning and make sure everybody caught it. Was you were using yourself as an example, of this person that we're going to target now. Okay, what do they need? And you literally were walking through your room,
Yes.
walking through your mind, walking through your life. I think that's really a brilliant way to do it. And it really simplifies the process rather than getting stuck in this analysis paralysis. Oh my gosh, what is a perfect product for them that nobody else
Yes.
has ever done? You
Yes,
know?
I mean, so many of us ruminate over this idea of, is it a
Yes.
good idea? Are people going to like it? Is it going to work? How do I know? Well, just look at what you bought. Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss said in the 4 Hour Work Week, he said, if you develop a product that is scratching your own itch, you'll always have at least one customer, and it's yourself. But you know what else I've discovered? When you develop a product that actually is meaningful to you, you just naturally talk about it. And when
Right.
you naturally talk about it, you tend to sort of resonate with other people who are into that thing. And when you get that one person who's got the podcast or the clubhouse group that wants to feature, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll be there. And you just like, I'm an entrepreneur. I talk about entrepreneurship. All of you are wanting to be entrepreneurs or already are entrepreneurs, and something that I say might resonate with you, and you might follow my work or subscribe to my podcast or something, right? But if I had no interest in this, if I wasn't scratching my own itch by talking about this stuff, I would be boring. This wouldn't
Yeah.
resonate with anybody. So if you are scratching your own itch and creating something that is actually meaningful to you, there's a very good chance that you're going to connect with 25 people a day who find your stuff and buy it, and that gives you the foundation for $1 million business.
Hey,
Excellent.
hey, Ryan. One last thing. When you're doing it with the document, are you basically telling them the 90 days or 30 days as you document it that you're leading up to it?
When you're doing it for the first time, yes. When you say things, you can say things like, "Hey, I'm halfway through me launching this product for the first time. This is my first time ever launching a physical product before. I've never done it. But I did this because I know that the people that I work with on a regular basis need something like this. I know I need something like this. And I just wanted to bring this out to market because I think it matters. So here's what I've
Mhm.
done so far. And this week I talked to this manufacturer. And this week I got my first prototype. And yes, you can share exactly where you are in that journey. Then when it launches, you're doing a lot more documentation of the brand and of your customers. And you can do that forever.
The story.
Got it.
All right, we've got quite a few members here on the stage, and we have 15 minutes left. So let's go to Christine. Christine, what is your question for Ryan, please?
Ryan, what a plethora of information. My mind is spinning, and
Oh,
I
good,
can't wait to
Christine.
yeah, I can't wait to marinate over the next couple of days. But I loved what you said about documenting the rollout of the product launch. Let's say it's a 6-month period. And then you gave this amazing example around supplements where it's this newly divorced person in their
Yeah,
40s, and then also the other psychodemographic is a millennial who's into exercise 10 times a day.
yes.
Our biggest challenge rolling out a new product like that, where the demographics no longer all look the same, is how do we entertain and engage them on social media when they have such different mirrors that they look into? How do you do that? So do you understand the question?
I
I'm not
do.
sure. Okay.
I do. So I had a client once who sold a knee sleeve. I used to before the pandemic. I used to do a workshop at my house, and it was $5,000 for 3 days, and then you also paid $5,000 once you added $100,000 a month to your business. And my favorite email to people were like, "I didn't think I'd ever pay you the second half, but I just crossed it, and so I owe you $5,000." And I had this one student. Um, at my house who sold knee sleeves, and he was selling $40,000 a month, maybe it was $60,000 a month in knee sleeves. And he was like, "How the heck do I choose a person? How do I document a process when there are 10 different types of people who buy knee sleeves? There are people in their 60s who are taking it to relieve pain. There are people who just had surgery. There are people who are runners. There's all these different people that buy knee sleeves." And I said, "All right, let's play a game. I want you to pick one of those people, just one." And I can't pick just one. There's 5 different people. Just for the sake of this conversation, pick one of those people and put them in your mind. What's the next thing that they buy? And he listed off 3 different products. And I said, "Okay, cool. Let's go over to the other one. Let's one of the other people in your mind. What are the next 3 things they buy?" And he listed off 3 completely different products for the demographic. So the way that you hit a product that has multiple demographics is you pick just one for a little bit. The example that I love to share with this is Cliff Bar. Cliff Bar is, most people don't know this, Cliff Bar is made for plant-based male endurance athletes. What? Cliff Bar was originally made to be for vegan male endurance athletes. How more specific can you get than that? But if you look at the packaging, it's masculine packaging. It's written in the voice of a male. If you look at the logo, it's someone climbing a mountain. If you read the story, it's about a guy who was riding a bike and he just couldn't eat one more power bar, so he developed an oat-based protein bar. Okay, well, they were hitting a very specific demographic, but most women and non-endurance athletes have had a Cliff Bar before. Why? Because when you get one demographic to be raving fans, they tend to bring other demographics with them. So if you really nail one of your core demographics. Even if by doing so, you feel like you are isolating the other people who want your product. If you really nail the one, they will talk to and be the ambassadors for the other demographics that you are not directly targeting. So we call this diffusion marketing. We hit one specific demographic or psychographic or person, and that person pulls other demos with them, and that's how we get multiple demos for a specific product.
Game-changing answer. Thank you.
Oh, good. Good. I'm so glad. Makes it a lot more fun when you're targeting one person too.
Yes. All right. We have Michael Gilmore. Michael does a regular show here
I think
also on.
we're missing Uja. Uja.
Oh, did I miss somebody? On mine, I
Yeah.
didn't. Pull to refresh, Colin. So we have Michael. At least that's what I'm seeing. So my apologies if I'm wrong. But Michael, he hosts a regular show here also on Startup Club called The Complete Entrepreneur. That's Thursdays at 5 p.m. He's calling in from Australia. So I'm
Oh,
not sure what time it is there. But Michael,
yeah,
waiting to hear your thoughts.
it's fabulous being here. I'll tell you what, like I got up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning to go along here from you, Ryan, and it's been really good hearing what you had to say. So
I'm
it's
so
it's
glad
been
it was
really.
worth the early morning. Thank you, Michael.
Absolutely, it has been. Yeah, so the question I have for you, it seems to me like you're driving everything through social media and everything. So let's imagine you've got a person starting off with absolutely nothing, no followers, they've got
Yep.
no social media presence whatsoever. What's a way that you would then kickstart that off? Would you then source traffic or buy traffic or something like that? From different places? Like, what's the methodology you would use from like starting from a zero position?
Yeah, well, a couple things about this. First, everyone starts at the beginning. Everybody. Like Gary Vee started with no followers. I started with no followers. Startup Club started with no members, right? Like we all started from nothing. That's answer number one. Number two, no one actually starts at zero because no one set up a Facebook account with no friends. You started with some people right away. So a lot of times people will use the I have no social media following as an excuse not to do anything. Which if you don't want to do social media, you don't have to. In fact, the fastest way to build an audience that buys, if you want to skip everything and you've got $100 that you're willing to lose, make one video of someone using your product and run it as a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or a TikTok ad and send them to an email capture. And that's it. And you don't have to create any content or do any social media, just build up a hot list and then once a week or so write an update and to your email list and document the growth of the business and the launch of the product that way. That is a very useful, productive way to start building the audience. But if you want to go faster, if you want to be a little bit bigger, I look for 3 different ways for a follower to see me, and that creates someone who feels ready to buy. The reason for that is because psychologically, if you see someone in 3 different places, you feel bonded to them, you know, like, and trust them. If you work with someone, they're a coworker. If you go out drinking with that person after work, it's a coworker you go drinking with. But if they come over to your house and watch football on Sunday, they're now a friend because you have seen them in 3 different places. Followers are the same way, and I call this the traffic triangle. You can get someone to see you in 3 different places. One that is exposure. That's like where you're sharing content, like social media, TikTok, some place where they might just grasp you and see you for a second. One place where you engage with them. This is where someone might consume something for a long time, like Clubhouse or a podcast or a YouTube channel or a Facebook group. These are places where people tend to linger for much longer. And then one place that is conversion, which for me is always an email list, because email is still the highest converting channel, still to this day. So if you are starting from zero, the way you can build a really long-term audience is by putting out traffic posts. That would be social media, that would be ads, and then driving them to the engagement, which is where they're going to stay for a long time, like a Facebook group or a Clubhouse group, or it is YouTube podcast, and taking those followers and putting them onto a hot list, which is email. I know that's a lot. I know that's a longer answer to your question, but if you do those three things for 90 days, you absolutely will have an engaged group of people who engage with your stuff, who follow your work, and buy your stuff. 100%, no doubt about it.
Yeah, thank you very much for that answer. I really do appreciate that. One very quick last one then is how many followers have you found that you need, say, an Instagram or something like that, in order to be able to sell 25 products a day?
500 people on an email list.
500 people. Okay, there's the answer. Cool. Thanks a lot for that. Appreciate
and specifically 500 people on an email list, because email is where a lot of the conversion happens. So I might end up having 2,000 YouTube subscribers or 2,000 people on Instagram before I have 500 people on an email list, right? But that combination, once I have enough of a following to have 500 people on an email list, I know that I've got enough to do a launch. And once I launch, then I'm going to have people who give me feedback. That feedback is going to be fodder for my followers. That is going to get more people to buy. Those people are going to leave reviews or send me videos. Those are going to end up being ads that I run. And now I've got the machine that can take me to 25 sales a day.
Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate that.
I got to get my daughter to listen to this show. This is amazing. You make it sound so simple. My daughter just launched a e-commerce company called
Wonderful.
Poem AI. You can imagine with the whole new Chat GPT and stuff, and
Yes.
she's got no followers, no traffic, nothing, and we'll see how it goes, and we're obviously helping her out with that. But we do want to
Fantastic.
move on to our favorite number one African e-commerce store, which is, I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry, Ulja. Maybe you could pronounce it right after
So,
Michael. There you go.
hi, good evening. Here from London. The name is Elvis. The brand is actually called Oloja Enterprise. A quick question just to ask. Probably out of the box of other questions being asked here. For a company, based out of a different jurisdiction, looking to migrate into a newer country or jurisdiction, if I would say, what's the best advice on setting on that journey, if I may ask?
So what exactly is the journey that you're trying to figure out? Is it how to launch in a place where you don't live?
Correct. Yes, correct. Thank you.
So there's two ways. One is you can just do all your targeting in the place where you are, or you could just not make it localized at all. You could just go after whoever shows up. So either one of those is fine. But if you are looking for a specific area, then you can just do all of your targeting to people who live in that specific place, and you can target locally and build your audience there. In fact, there is a strong advantage to people who are trying to launch in a specific geographic area, because you can speak directly to the people living there, and that is a loud raving fan base. I did a podcast last week. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I live in Texas now, but I'm from Cleveland. And I did a podcast where I talked a lot about Cleveland, and I got some of the most raving responses from people who lived in Cleveland or had lived in Cleveland. I didn't sell anything on that, but I really engaged a specific fan base on that piece of content because I was telling stories about when I lived in Cleveland. So if you are if you want to go into a specific jurisdiction or geographic area, and you simply do your targeting for them, talk about that local area, the challenges in that local area, say why you're starting a business in that specific region, what you've seen other brands or businesses try to do that they failed at that you're going to do differently for that group of people. You can build a very strong raving fan base that will support you when you launch there or when you move there.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
You're
Really
welcome.
helped.
Good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Excellent. So next we have Sharon, also who is a moderator and our local branding expert. Sharon, what is your question for Ryan? Are you there, Sharon? All right, let's quickly go to Sean. Sean, we've got Ryan here and he's ready and willing to answer our questions. Go
Hey,
for it.
Sean.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
Just want to say you make some great points about really being dialed in on certain things. I like to call it inch wide, mile deep. We really
Yes,
just penetrate that single area and just go as deep as you can.
that's right.
Just want to make a point as well is when you're mentioning you're rolling out new products in 4 to 8 months. I think that's a risky thing to do as well because it really puts a strain on your operation in terms of the back end inventory and all things like that. So just want to get your thoughts on how you would roll those out in a good way.
My answer to that is that you want to roll out products as quickly as you can without compromising the focus that you have. For some people, that means that they can only release 2 products and they're going to have to get 2 products to 50 sales a day. Still $1 million business. For others like me, my sweet spot is that 4 times 25 because I feel like I don't have to work very hard to get a product to 25 sales a day, and then I'm ready to launch the next thing. And the operational costs behind that are ensuring that you have the inventory to be able to keep up with that demand. That is the primary thing that people will run into is that they'll run out of inventory because they think that this whole 12 months to 1 million thing is not going to work. So they're really cheap on inventory and they don't order enough and they run out and then they're scrambling to get inventory on the next thing. But if you're confident in what you're doing, if you believe in the brand that you're selling, then you go really hard on the first product. And then as soon as you're at 25, you have my permission to launch products 2, get that to 25, then launch 3, and then 4.
Got it. Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. Inventory is always a must when you're doing that. I
Yes.
always like to see the brands go vertically in terms of horizontal and not horizontally when they're rolling out new products. So very similar, kind of like what you're doing. This on switch is kind of the same along the same lines where you're not going to do like a protein and then those knee braces or whatever you were mentioning before.
Right. Right. Yeah, and
But
so you got to find that thread that connects all 4 products together. That's a brand, right? When someone can express them choosing you in 4 different ways, you have a brand that customers will loyally choose again and again.
Yep, absolutely. And then just one quick question in terms of spend when it comes to, I guess, acquiring new customers. How much would you typically spend on social media ads, maybe Google ads and things like that? What is like a good spend to get to that 25 buyers per day?
So when you are at the beginning, when you have 1 product, you may not be spending anything at all. And the reason for that is because you don't need to in order to have a launch that gets to 25 sales a day. You also don't have much margin to work with on the first product because you have nothing to upsell them. But once you've got 4 products in your brand, you have multiple ways that people can buy from you, then my goal on an acquisition is like a perfect funnel for me would be day 1, I lose 1 cent. I don't make any money. I don't lose much. I'm just losing enough to get most of my ad spend back, most of my fulfillment back. And now I'm buying customers for as little as possible, building up the list of people who are sending me reviews, building up the group of people who are going to buy from me again and again and again. And I will play that game all day long if I can. Now, do I usually get there? No. Usually I need to have upsells and cross sells in order to make some of my ad spend back. But my goal, once I've got multiple products, is to lose as little as possible because I'm simply buying a customer who's going to come back and buy from me again and again and tell other people about it.
What time horizons do you usually see that breaking even? Like you say day one, but if you're spending, let's say, for the first couple of weeks and you're not breaking even, is that how would you see that? Like,
Well, then something's wrong in
happen?
your funnel. You're either your ad sucks, or your upsell copy sucks, or your landing page copy sucks. Like that's when you
Got it. Yep.
that's a test and tweak. I have found that the most compelling ads are almost always customer driven, meaning a customer says, "Here's what I liked about the product. Here's what it did for me. Here's the review I give it." If you simply find the reviews that early testers give you, those are often the highest converting ads for you to start with.
Got it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I
You
think
bet.
at pod.com, and be curious to get your opinion on this one, Ryan. But at pod.com, we generally have about a 30% ad spend on Facebook and Google and
Okay.
other channels. And then we have about 10% margin. And when we get a product that does that, not all of our products do that, but when we do get a product that does that, we have a saying, scale it to infinity. Because you're making money
Yeah.
on every single sale, right?
Right.
So
Right.
why
Right.
wouldn't you just keep spending the money? And our ad budgets, I mean, we have extraordinary ad budgets. People look at our company and say, "Wow, that's you spend a lot on advertising. You should just do this." Like, no, we make money.
Yeah.
It's you make 30% ad spend, you got 10% margin, scale to infinity. I was curious if you think we're on the right track or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to if you're break even or better on the first transaction, scale that to infinity. Because I don't care about a customer being profitable from the get-go. I want them to be profitable over years. The proactive acne cream will spend what it costs. Their average acquisition cost is 18 months of advertising before someone buys, meaning they are banking on a customer being with them for 18 months. 18 months of spend is what they will spend to get one customer. They're banking on a certain percentage of their customers being with them for a very long time. That's how you build really successful brands.
All right. Excellent. We're running a little bit over time here, but I do want to get to everyone on the stage. I hope that's okay with you, Ryan.
How many we got on there?
We've got about three more people.
Okay, cool. Let's pick two of your favorites and give them all we
Oh,
got.
they're all our favorites. All right. Sharon, I just want to come back to you. Are you there?
I am,
There she
Michelle. Can you
is.
hear
All
me?
right, excellent. All right, we can. So, what is your question? And Sharon, as we said earlier, is our resident branding expert, and she runs a
Wonderful.
regular show here about telling your story. So, Sharon, quickly, what is your question for Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan, I love what you had to say about getting customer feedback and really leaning into that because that's the sweet spot for any company. But I was wondering, because a little bit of what I was listening to you, I was wondering if you have to also lean into this authenticity of what you're doing. And so when you're constantly churning through products and ideas, do you ever struggle with the idea of sort of sitting in that sweet spot of making sure that you're authentic to your customer because that's where you're going to resonate deepest?
Your authenticity comes from you speaking to the person, not about the product. So, for example, if you and I were to sit here and talk about a spatula, we would talk about all the different features about the spatula. We would read the reviews about the spatula. We would talk about the handle of the spatula. We would say how much it costs. We would describe the spatula and it would probably fall flat. But if we had a brand that was speaking to full-time moms who made a point to spend every 5 o'clock to 5:45 sitting with their families, we would talk to that person directly. And we would say things like, we know that family is the nucleus of society. And we know that the unsung heroes of society are the people who tirelessly spend day in and day out protecting and providing for their families. And you are one of the rare few that carve out that intentional time every single day to ensure that your family feels loved for, seen, and cared for over dinner. We've done this for generations, and it is a lost art of today's world. We also sell spatulas. Would you like one? That's authentic marketing. That is speaking to the person rather than selling a product. And when you speak to that person, now I can sell product after product after product without it feeling weird or skeezy or slimy because I am highlighting them on their journey.
I couldn't agree more. Taking your message and making it transformational instead of transactional is really the key, and making sure that the person can resonate with the story that you're telling and see themselves in the narrative is key.
That's right. We call it making them the hero in the story.
Excellent. Love that. All right, we have two more folks. Tej, what is your question or comment for Ryan?
Thanks, Michelle. Good to see my friends Colin and Michael and Michelle. So, Ryan, awesome stuff. I joined about 30 minutes ago and I've been listening in the background. I think Colin had pulled me up just for support. So, awesome stuff. I didn't have a question initially. As I listened to you, I have a couple of questions. So, for the sake of brevity, quick background and quick question in 90 seconds or less. So, I'm a corporate investment banker, right? So, we do traditional mergers and acquisitions in the banking world. Middle market companies, right? So buying and selling companies between 50 million and about 300 million. Over the last 20 years, my skill that got me there was the art of business development, negotiation, relationships, etc. So 100% of our business comes from word of mouth, so we don't have any customer acquisition costs. Over the last couple of years since COVID, I created online profiles. As you had said, we didn't start from zero, but I started kind of from zero, but not really. Created online profiles. We have a couple of courses. I personally do corporate coaching around negotiations and training and things like that. Very high ticket, very high ticket. I mean, meaning five figures, whatever. And the question would be, I guess, for you, I'm just throwing that out. And for someone who's new, fairly new to social media, 100% of the daytime job, as if I'll call it, is it comes from our banking business, right? So that's where all the money's made. But this is my passion, helping others, companies grow, scale, etc. If I threw that out at you, what would you say if you're going after high ticket and you're relatively new in the market, but I have 20 years of experience having done keynotes and things, but not online, more in an auditorium, etc. What would be the advice? I know it's a tough question, a long question, but I can send you a note privately as well. You're awesome. Love what you've said so far, and I just wanted to appreciate that. Thank you.
The answer is really simple. I would take your long form keynotes and make them YouTube shows. And I would take your long form keynotes and I'd make them podcasts. And then I would take your clients and you say, hey, I want to give you a free one-on-one. I just want to dive into the problem that you're facing. I'm going to publish this as a podcast and a YouTube channel. People overvalue what they keep proprietary. And they don't recognize that if you were to share what is proprietary, you will get more clients who resonate with that same problem. So one of my favorite ways to do this is if you take your clients and you record your conversations, or you do one-time consults and you say, yeah, I'll give anybody 30 minutes of my time for free. After that, you have to be a client. I'll give anybody 30 minutes of my time for free as long as you let me record it and put it as a podcast. We'll dive into the challenge and I'll tell you what I would do with that. And then if you want to work with me, you can. Otherwise, it's just going to be, a free consult for you and content for me. That will be a lot of content that you can turn into YouTube, podcasts, and short form content that you can put on TikTok and YouTube. That'll get you more clients and you'll know what to do with.
Awesome stuff. I started doing that over the past year. There's about 40 hours worth in there. I need to now, the hard part, cut it up, break it up, etc., and start doing it. So awesome advice, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Well, Colin, we're at the
We have
end. Oh,
Christian. Well, we don't. I know we have Christian there.
I'm sorry, Christian. My
If you can make it
apologies.
real quick, Christian,
Yeah,
that would
Christian,
be great.
go for it.
Thank you for inviting me on the stage. My question is pretty brief, real quick, little bit about myself. I'm currently working on several books. Well, two of them are novels. But the way I'm taking the approach in writing a novel is writing chapters and posting those chapters online as I'm writing the book and try to engage with my audience. Do you think that is a good idea of connecting with my audience or marketing the book, or is that a bad idea? Your thoughts?
It's not a bad idea as long as it doesn't slow you down, right? So like if you can go really fast and write a book and release it and build the audience around that book, you'll build a giant audience doing that. But if you'll move just as fast releasing chapter by chapter, mazel tov. Record a couple podcasts if you're reading the book too, so that they can get the audiobook over time too. One of my friends, Brooke Castillo, did something with this where she just recorded herself doing sample chapters of a book and she released it on her podcast. And it was just marvelously done because you were subscribing to a podcast, but it was like you were listening to an audiobook. And that opened her up to new audiences that she wouldn't have connected with before. So it'll all work. It's a matter of, do you feel like you can move as quickly while still writing the book and releasing pieces of that to the people who become part of your audience?
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, we appreciate this, Ryan, and the extra time that you've spent with us here. We often bring guests on to this show to figure out how to crack the code of start, scale, exit, repeat when it comes to startups. And I think today you just scratched the surface. Like, I feel like there's so much more. But before you go, can you just tell us, first of all, about your conference? Is it sold out? I know I've been listening to some of your podcasts, and you sounded like you're pretty close to being sold out. But can you tell us a little bit about that and how people can get in touch with you and really
Yeah,
learn
sure.
more about what you put together?
Well, thanks for asking. I do run an annual conference. It's called the Capitalism Conference. As of the last time I checked, there were 47 tickets left. It's where I bring in the entrepreneurs who inspire me that I think are creating change in the world. And I put them on stage for 2.5 days. We limit it to 200 people so that everybody can interact with everybody, including the speakers on stage. But if you're new to my work, the best and most affordable way that I can serve you is just if you read my book. And you can get it at the library. You can steal it from your friend's house. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on the. I don't care where you get it. I believe that if you read it or if you listen to it on Audible, it will give you the shift that you need in order to cast a vision for $1 million business. And then you can follow me on social and do all that stuff. But the most direct and affordable way that I can serve you is if you just read my book, 12 Months to 1 Million, wherever you'd like to grab it.
Well, again, we really appreciate it. Thank you for your time again. You've been listening to the Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. If you caught it late, you can listen to replay on Clubhouse, or you can go to your favorite podcast channel and search for Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. And your podcast, Ryan, is Capitalism. I just went and typed in Ryan Moran YouTube. Is
That's
that
right.
the right way to check? Yeah, that's
That's
correct.
just
Yep.
fine. My podcast is called capitalism.com, and I also publish a lot on YouTube under my personal name.
All right, great. Well, really appreciate it again. Thank you very
All right.
much. And we'll
Thank you,
see
everyone.
everyone next Friday.
Thank you for
Thank you
having me.
so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks very much for that.